What's up, YouTube? This is going to be your guide on how to use Politoed in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun me movesets too. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, put it below in the comment section of the video. And if you enjoy it, helps you out, drop a like and let's get into it. So Politoed is an excellent rain setter. Basically why most people use it. It can be used in quite a few different ways, but it is a very nice support style Pokemon. So let's have a look at it. So its stats are kind of interesting. We've got its highest stat being its special defense and its health and its special attack. So it is, it does have some quite reasonable bulk about it, which is good for being a rain setting Pokemon. So the abilities we've got on here are Water Absorb, Damp, and Drizzle. So obviously Drizzle is probably the most attractive option to pick because it's going to be very, very useful for rain style teams or Pokemon abilities that work in the rain, right? So our first set here is pretty standard. So we've got you can either pick Surf or Weather Ball. Weather Ball is quite good because with the Drizzle up, that turns into a water type move and it's going to be 100 base power, which is going to be good. The only drawback to that, if the weather does get removed, you're going to be stuck using a normal type 50 base power move. Not that you were going to do much damage anyway, but just sort of to note there, Surf may be a little bit better in terms of every sort of situation there. But then again, if you're running a rain team, you'd probably swap the Politoed out to reset the rain later anyway. So we'll leave Weather Ball there, but just thought I'd mention that. Ice Beam's just a good coverage move to have on it, and I've got Haze and Rest on there. So Haze is good for Pokemon that try and set up on you when you're setting the rain up. That's definitely going to be useful, or any Pokemon that come in and have stat rises and stuff like that. And I've got Rest on there too. So this is sort of a last ditch sort of attempt there to go to sleep, swap the Pokemon out, swap it back in to activate your Drizzle again and help out the rest of your team that maybe they're Swift Swim users and stuff like that. So some other moves you could possibly run on there too. If you don't want to run Hay, Encore's not a bad one too. You can Encore an opponent into like a stat rising move or something along those lines there, and then you could just swap it out and go into another Pokemon. So that's definitely a way to use Politoed. I've given this one all-round bulk, so we got max health and we got max defense, and I've given it calm nature, so we're boosting its special defense. It's already got a high special defense stat already. So we're putting most of that into defense, so it gets some nice all-round bulk there, so it's able to do its job as a support, setting up the rain, basically. So 250 to defense, and last little bit into special defense. You could put the last little bit into, like, speed if you wanted to outspeed, like, opposing Politoed supports, so at least it would be a speed tie. That's another option there as well if you want. It's sort of up to you. But the main thing is you're setting up the rain. As for this, I reckon Grass is probably the best defensive terror for it, because Grass, obviously, electric moves aimed at Politoed, they're going to be resisted, and Grass moves themselves are going to be resisted. So that's its two weaknesses there. They're going to be used against it. So I feel that works rather well. You could do like some trolling stuff like Water Absorb on there, but that's more gimmicky, and then you lose your Drizzle. So item's going to be a Damp Prop because we want to increase Drizzle's Drizzle to 8 turns instead of 5. You want to be raining as long as possible to help out the rest of your team. Now, Politoed is mostly used as a rain support, but I want to do like a set that shows its 90 base special attack. Not that it's amazing, but it still can cause some problems, right? This one is going to be using its most high base power moves and best coverage. So we've got Hydro Pump on here, which is actually more powerful than Weather Ball. But if you want to use Weather Ball on there, you could as well. That's perfectly fine. I've sort of got it on there for occasions where you don't set the rain up, or someone resets your weather. So you can have Hydro Pump or Weather Ball on there. Either one of them is going to be good. Overall, Weather Ball could be better because it doesn't miss. And, it's got more PP as well. So with a choice item, that could come into effect too. So either one of them. Earth's Power actually learns, which is really cool. So that's going to be a way to hit any electric-type Pokemon. And if you notice, I've given it Terra Ground as well. Terra Ground works perfectly with Water-type Pokemon because I've got very, very little weaknesses. And it's going to be great. It can even give you an extra turn of setup or an attack as well, depending on what your moveset is. Ice Beam is good there just for coverage. Very, very nice. And I've given it Hyper Voice. Now, this is a bit of a bit of like those, especially those first 2 or 3 moves are very good. The last move you can use quite a lot of stuff here. I like Hyper Voice on there because say you've got an opponent that can set up Substitute, or they've got a Substitute set up already, and you're not going to be the fastest Pokemon, right? So you might be able to get around their Substitute, surprise them, and feint them too. Ability is going to be Drizzle still, and we've got max health and max special attack, modest nature. So we're really making use of its special attack, and it's not a bad special attack. So it's not amazing, but it's not bad. And with max health, you've got good overall bulk too, so you can definitely have some, some pretty decent attacks there, and maybe surprise the opponent with some damage output because, as a Specs Weather Ball is going to do a lot of damage in the rain, right? Not too many things will be able to swap into that. Like super easily, right? And you should be able to see a pattern to the opponent swapping as well. Like if you know they're going to swap in something to resist that, they're going to swap in like a water type Pokemon. I'll go for Earth Power instead. I might get a special defense drop. Or I'll go for Hyper Voice. That's good against that at least is going to be good against the 2 remaining Pokemon. So I've got a choice specs, right? If you want to get rid of the choice specs, you absolutely could. You could give it even Throat Spray. That'd be interesting. Throat Spray actually gives Politoed the chance to boost its special attack 1 stage. So that could definitely work. Or you could go Assault Vest too. This would make it very, very bulky on the special defensive side and hit hard as well. So that could be something you could go for sure. You probably want its speed. Really, its speed's not very good at all. Even if you go Timid Nature and lose all of its bulk and stuff, it hits like a wet paper bag, really. So you could try. It's not all that bad, but it's not really going to be outspeeding too many more things there. Not really. Even with it's got 70 is like it's kind of a weird sort of number. So you're going to be missing out on all those like 85, 90, 95, 100, 110 speed Pokemon. There's no real point. And anything below that, well, it probably doesn't matter too much. So that's why I built it with with bulk instead. You could try, for argument's sake, you could try under a Trick Room team if you wanted to, but which doesn't probably make too much sense because usually Drizzles run with Swift Swim Pokemon, but you could try it if you really wanted to. But I would just go with a modest nature for maximum damage output, whether it be Specs, Throat Spray, or Assault Vest. That could definitely give you a good chance there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on that. You could run like a berry on there, like maybe Rindo or Wakan could work. So Rindo or Wakan berry, that could work too. They could be another options if you want to live a little bit more for a super effective, or you could go Citrus on there as well. So that sort of frees you up with an item and stuff. And yeah, so that's another way of running Politoed. So you don't always have to run it like rain support, right? Most people will, though. Just bear that one in mind. But this Politoed is actually going to be setting up the rain, but it's going to have some more It's going to actually have some offensive presence about it. It's not just going to sit there and use a weak Weather Ball or Ice Beam or stuff like that. All right, looking at doubles now. I like Terra-type Grass on Politoed for the setup ones. I reckon it works best. It does get Perisong, so it makes a very nice and nasty little Perisong trapper. So it gets Perisong and Protect, which is very, very good combo. And we've got Drizzle, of course. Now, I put Leftovers on this because I figure, well, if you use this Politoed right, and you're using on your rain team, you're sort of getting down to the last few Pokemon, right? And they can't swap out. That's their last Pokemon. You can use this and set a Perisong up. And then you can sort of like stall with Protect. And then you can use Muddy Water. I like Muddy Water probably a bit better than Weather Ball because Muddy Water actually adds value to this set rather than Weather Ball, which adds no value at all because they're going to feint anyway. So Muddy Water has a chance of dropping the opponent's accuracy. A 30% chance. So if you're hitting two Pokemon, you got a reasonable chance of a drop there. You might be able to live a turn longer as well if an opponent misses an attack, or your ally attack might miss there too. So I feel like that adds more value than Weather Ball. That's why I haven't put it. And I've also put Encore on there as well for case any setup moves and such like that. You could put Haze on there, but just bear in mind that's going to affect your ally as well. So another way of running Politoed. Like this set's the EVs are a little bit more involved. So we've got max health on there, and we've got 180 defense and a 76 in special defense with bold nature. I've done this so Politoed's all-round defense and special defense are pretty much even, and it gives it the best best chance of living all kinds of moves there possible. So it's not like really special defensive, bulky, and not bulky on the defensive side. So when you use Perisong, you want to be, in my experience, I feel like it's good to be bulky all over rather than just in one sort of stat there, because it can be abused then and then fainted before the Perisong strategy actually works properly, right? Now, when I'm mentioning this Perisong strategy too, I know we're a little bit ahead. Normally I do counters and team stuff at the end. A Pokemon that has something like Arena Trap or Shadow Tag works very, very well with this. So you can set them up, the Perisong, and then the opponents won't be able to swap out, and they could just die to Perisong, and you could swap Politoed out and do it all again, if you wanted to, right? So that's something you could definitely do with this sort of set. As I mentioned, Terra-type Grass, purely defensive for water and Grass-type move, which are Politoed's main two weaknesses, being just a Water-type Pokemon. So perfectly covered there. Let's have a look at this set. This is another support set, but a little bit different. A little bit different to the other one. So it does get Helping Hand, which is great. Helping Hand is very, very good if your ally is like doing tons of damage in the rain. So it could be any Swift Swim Pokemon. I'm going to name all these as well, but any other one's going to be very helpful there. You've got Hypnosis. This is a little bit of a gimmicky move on there. You might be able to put a Pokemon to sleep, and that could allow your ally to set up or just help out a lot. And we've got Chilling Water on here. Chilling Water is going to be good because it can drop the target's attack stat. So if there's any physical attackers, you could use that against them. And we've got Icy Wind as well. So Icy Wind is going to drop the speed of the opponents. So that's going to be useful. Probably not super duper useful with a Swift Swim Pokemon, but if it's a Swift Swim Pokemon which doesn't have a blisteringly fast speed stat, they might come up against a real speedy Choice Scarf Pokemon, Regieleki or something like that. That would be good against those sort of things. So just trying to give you some extra options there for another version of support Politoed. Damp Rocker's item, Drizzle, Grass as well. I always run Grass in the defensive set because it's the best one to run, period. This one I made more defensive. And sort of, it's pretty close anyway. You could use my EV spread from this or this. It's, reasonably the same sort of thing there. So Calm, Max Health, Max Defense there. Same kind of thing, right? Now, Politoed actually makes a nasty little Whirlpool trapping set too. I've done so many trapping sets over the years in Pokemon, which a lot of Pokemon can do quite well if they've got them. So this is going to work best in singles. Or in doubles, use a Pokemon like an Arena Trap Pokemon and stuff like that. That's going to work very nicely. But in singles, you could have Whirlpool, so trap the opponent in, Perisong them, spam Protect. They're going to faint, right? Eventually. And then before the last turn of the Perisong actually comes into effect, swap the Politoed out. And then swap a Pokemon that resists their move, right? And then they're fainted. And then start the whole process again with Rest and Chesto again. And this one's going to be, on this one, we got Terra-type Electric as well. Now, the reason I did Terra-type Electric is because it's only weak to ground, and I don't think a ground-type Pokemon is going to want to come into a Politoed. At least, and at least not until they know what the set is, and by that time it's going to be too late because they're trapped in with Whirlpool, and Perisong is going to be fainting them. Why did I do Water Absorb on this for? Maybe you could have Drizzle on there as well. That still would be okay. Like, that would boost Whirlpool's damage. Or you could put something gimmicky like Damp on there. Someone tries to use Explosion on you. But, yeah, that's not really going to be used too much, I don't think. And someone's not going to roll the dice using Explosion with Protect. So, Drizzle's going to be the best on that set one, for sure. We got a Hypnosis Special. So, of course, most of the time you see Politoed as a support or a special attacker. Let's do a physical attacker. Now, this set actually works good in singles. The main problem with this set is its speed. It's not quite that fast, so it can be outsped. But if you're able to get this Belly Drum off, it actually works really nicely. So we've got Belly Drum, which it does learn, which is really cool. So that 75 base and attack is enough. It can really, really destroy stuff. I mean, it's got +6 in attack. It's going to be powerful. So this set you could have on here. I've got a Terra Ground and I've got Water Absorb, which is going to heal you up, which is going to be really nice. So if someone tries to use a water type move on you while you're Terra Ground, and it's going to be I know it's going to be a bit obvious that you don't have Drizzle there, but it might take someone by surprise. Like, oh, a ground type, I'll quickly use a water type move, right? And then it heals you, and then you don't have so little health, and you might not be picked off by a priority move. Liquidation, that's going to be the most powerful physical water move that it has. So 85 power, and Ice Punch, great coverage move there. As well, so you've got, kind of like the other one, you've got a water and an ice move, and Earthquake's going to be perfect for any ground type Pokemon. Ice is going to be for grass Pokemon, so you've got perfect coverage there, and that is absolutely going to be able to sweep for sure. If you've got a sticky web support down, that's going to be helpful too, because the weakness of this set is, of course, is its speed, right? That's why I've given it a Salic Berry. So maybe if you got to a low amount of health, say, like I deliberately did that, right? Because Belly Drum's going to take away half your health. Now, you could do a Citrus Berry there, but I don't think Citrus Berry is the go here, because you want it to be on a low amount of health. If someone pops like a priority move, it'll pop your Salic Berry too, and then you finish them off. So I reckon that's going to work better, in my opinion. And yeah, if you've got Terra Ground as well, you've got Water Absorb there to heal you up. Alternatively, you could just go Drizzle and boost your Liquidation even more. But I don't think it's going to matter too much. If you've got +6 in attack, it's going to be pretty good. Like, even with the very average attack stat, it's going to be hitting like insanely hard, right? But that's a cool Politoed set that you could consider as well for a bit of fun. Let's talk about some teammates and stuff now. So we were talking about teammates for these sort of sets here, or any sort of like set for doubles or singles. So one that definitely comes to mind here is Archaludon. Archaludon is going to be very, very good, right? Mainly because of its Electro Shot move. So Electro Shot is used a lot on rain teams, so it gets a special attack boost every time it uses, right? And if it's in the rain, it doesn't have to charge. You can just fire off this laser every single time, right? So that's a great partner for Politoed in the rain. Pelipper is another good one too. That's I actually haven't covered that yet, but I could do that for sure. But that works nicely with it. I've done an Archaludon set too, if you want to check that out. So Archaludon, good, definitely a good one. They work nicely with this Helping Hand set too, or a Helping Hand kind of deal. That'd be really, really good. So that would definitely a Helping Hand support set. Drizzle, Helping Hand, Electro Shot, bam. That's going to be doing heaps and heaps of damage, right? Let's have a look. So, Swift Swim. There is so many Swift Swim Pokemon. There's a ton of Swift Swim Pokemon, right? So, the best ones that come to mind here is Basculegion. That's going to be super, super good, doubling its speed. So, it doesn't have the greatest speed in the world, but, once it, gets that speed boost, it's going to be very, very good for sure. You've got stuff like Barraskewda as well, which is already very, very fast to begin with, but that could work. Even Overquill, Kingdra, Dreadnought's not all that bad because it is a Shell Smash set, but that's a little bit more focused on, say like singles, right? It's not really it's such a good doubles Pokemon. And you got like other less used stuff like Ludicolo and stuff like that too. So it's going to work well with Swift Swim Pokemon for sure, right? There's a lot of them. Pokemon that could work rather nicely as well is wrong Pokemon. Gothitelle with Shadow Tag. So this works well with this. So this Perish Song strategy. These work very nicely together. So you can set up Perish Song. And then, these can just, this Gothitelle and the Politoed can just stall, basically, those turns and then swap it out. And they can start the whole process again. So that could be a nasty combination with those two Pokemon. There are some other Pokemon that have Shadow Tag as well. But they're not in the game. Like Mega Gengar and Wobbuffet are not in the game. But if they were to come back in the game, you might be able to use Politoed and Mega Gengar too. I'm just saying that because they might come back into the game one day and someone's, watching this guide years down the track. That you're that person watching it. And then another one is Arena Trap as well, but we've got Doug Trio, and I don't think you'll be using Trapinch, but so we got Doug Trio. So that's definitely another way of using this Pokemon for sure. Definitely going to be working rather nicely. You could also, with this Perisong set, you could use Amoonguss as well, because Amoonguss can draw in those. If you didn't want to Terra it, you could just draw in the water moves and the electric type moves, and it'll be very, very hard to feint them because they'd have good synergy, right? So that could work rather nicely too with that Perish trapping set that I was talking about before. I'm trying to think if there's any other good, some good, more offensive sort of Pokemon that work well with it. I'd have to say Rillaboom, because that's going to be nice for any of those, opposing Pokemon there. Plus, you can swap into Electric and Grass moves really, really easy with Rillaboom. Done a guide for Rillaboom too. Trying to think of some other good ones. Sinistcha wouldn't be all that bad. Sinistcha, that would be another good one too. Just, be able to swap into grass moves and such like that. I'm trying to think of some other good ones that would be useful there. I think I've mentioned most of the useful Pokemon that you could possibly, do there. Maybe a good one too. You might be able to, we're talking on that strategy with Perisong and stuff. Like Grimmsnarl could be good setting up screens as well, because then Politoed would be even bulkier and such like that. So you might be able to set your screens up, then swap into Gothitelle while it's used Perisong. So that could, make a definitely another good partner for that team as well. I'm just trying to think of some other cool things as well. Counters. Let's do counters. So counters to Politoed. So Politoed has got good bulk, right? We've already sort of looked at his bulk, right? So the things to get around that are really hard electric hitters. So you've got stuff like Iron Hands, right? If you repeatedly hit Politoed, it is going to faint, right? It doesn't really have any forms of recovery outside of rest, right? Which is not all that good. And if there's a terrain on the field too, it's going to be not going to be able to sleep at all. So you got stuff like Iron Hands. Another good one is Zapdos. Ice Beam's going to do a bit to it, but not too much. And plus, Zapdos can take full advantage of the rain with Hurricane too. That's another good one. Regieleki is. I mentioned Regieleki already, but this thing's a real problem for Swift Swim Pokemon, because it's still got really amazing speed too. So those Pokemon that aren't so fast, they have base speeds of 70-ish, like Basculegion and stuff. This could be an issue as well. Or slower Pokemon with Swift Swim that reach a high speed stat, but once the rain's not there, or they're still a little bit slow, they might be get countered. But yeah, this is a great counter for Politoed as well. I mean, I haven't done the Regi guides, but I am going to do all the Regis very soon as well. But yeah, let's have a look at Politoed. It's stats and moves and stuff like that. Just anything I'm going to possibly miss. We've gone over Encore Haze, Perisong, definitely cover those. Protect. Has Rest Sleep Talk. I think it used to get Scold back in the day. I'm trying to remember. Pretty sure it used to get Scold too. It might still get. I'll have to look. Belly Drum it does get, which we sort of went over that. Helping Hand, great. Hypnosis can be for fun. Or it even gets Metronome if you want to do a Metronome team. Gets Psych Up as well, but I don't think that's going to serve too much purpose. That's the status moves there. Let's do special moves first. Okay. No, it doesn't. It doesn't get Scald. Yeah, it used to actually get Scald. So if for some reason it does get Scald back again, you can use that. That's a really good move on Politoed. It might even be better than using Weather Ball and stuff, because you can spread a burn. So just bear that in mind if if you're watching this guide in a few years' time and the next gens come out. So we've got Chilling Water, Earth Power. We've gone over most of the time. People just run support on this anyway, so they don't go for the best moves that it has. It does get Muddy Water. We went over that. Whirlpool, good for the trapping set with Perisong. Weather Ball. It does get Surf as well, so you might be able to use Surf in doubles. If you have maybe a Pokemon with Water Absorb, that could be useful. And it does get Hyper Voice too, so you might be able to Throat Spray, Hyper Voice, Surf, something like that. It does get Focus Blast, but that doesn't really add too much to it. It does get Blizzard as well, so you might be able to do Terra Ice Blizzard, right? That could be interesting. Okay, interesting sort of thing to go for there. It really doesn't get that many moves. It actually gets some interesting physical moves too. So as Waterfall, it's got some fighting moves. It's got some ice moves. It's great. It actually has a good, decent physical set. So choices there, but most people aren't going to do the belly drum set, but I just thought I'd show you those. That's pretty much it for Politoed, actually. So, to sum things up, Politoed is a staple in rain teams. Very, very good Pokemon to set the rain up there. It's got some good ways at having some... It's got a good way of trapping opponents in there. You could use the Perisong combinations, and it can still be just a pain in the backside with Encore and Haze and stuff like that. Why it's repeatedly setting up the rain for its allies. Great support Pokemon too. for allies and doubles. And yeah, it could definitely make a part on any single team you could think up with any water-related, water-related things. Even stuff like Rain Dish, right? I didn't mention that. So it's hard to mention everything, but any sort of like Pokemon that benefit from the rain, I feel like this Pokemon is going to be useful for them. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that one. Leave any suggestions of any other movesets you've got for it. If there's a Pokemon you want me to cover that I haven't yet, check the playlist out. If you haven't, just put it below there. Drop a like if you enjoyed it, helped you out, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.